God knows the future. And He alone knows the future. There is not a person out there who can correctly and accurately forecast the future. Nostradamus does not know the future. He is a false prophet. But God knows the future. The second truth, God reveals certain aspects of the future. He's done so as Jesus has spoken in this 24th chapter, as He's talked about certain things that would happen in the future of the apostles. He tells them about the Jewish wars and the destruction of Jerusalem. What He told them happened, and He told it to them 30 years before it happened, and it was fulfilled. Some of the things He says in chapter 24 are things that have not been fulfilled. They're in our future at the apocalypse, at the end of time. But certain things, third, God chooses not to reveal. He has not revealed the time of His coming. He has not revealed the details of His coming. No matter how many books are published, how many TV evangelists get on television and say so, how many prophecy conferences come to town and are held, I want you to know and to understand and get it clear and write it down. Nobody knows this. But there have always been people who claimed it. Probably there are hundreds of examples, but probably the most famous in American history was a man by the name of William Miller, or Captain William Miller. Captain Miller fought in the War of 1812. After the War of 1812, he found religion. And then he began to read and to study his Bible, and he became convinced that he had discovered the secret to unlocking the mystery of the second coming of Christ. He began speaking some. He wasn't that great of a speaker, but then a Baptist pastor from New York heard him, and that Baptist pastor was also a bit of a showman, and he paired with Captain Miller to begin doing Bible prophecy conferences. They ordered the biggest tent then made in America. They made huge charts that showed all of his prophecies, all of his interpretations, and his scheme for interpreting them. He went to city after city after city all over America. He spoke as many as 700 times in the course of a year. According to his calculations, and this thing that he had figured out, Christ was going to return sometime in 1843. By the hundreds they came at first, then by the thousands, then by the tens of thousands. And their movement became known as the Adventist movement. And the Adventists began sweeping across the nation. He's coming back in 1843. Then some people began to pressure Captain Miller. Exactly when in 1843? With a lot of fanfare, he made an announcement in a borough of New York City. In that announcement, he said that it was according to the Hebrew calendar, not our calendar. Thus, it would be sometime between March the 21st, 1843, and March the 20th, 1844. That was as close as he could get. That was the year of the return. Well, the countdown started on March the 21st, 1843. City after city, town after town, church after church, Captain Miller and his band went preaching and teaching. In 1 week alone, they signed up 50,000 new converts. The year ticked by and nothing happened. We came to the change of the calendar year to 1843 to 1844, and nothing happened. January turned to February, which turned to March, and nothing had happened. And then we came to the final 24 hours. 10,000 believers gathered with Captain Miller. And as midnight struck, nothing happened. Well, Captain Miller was prepared. He announced he had made a mistake in his figuring and said the date is October 22nd, 1844. Now, Captain Miller believed it passionately. He didn't appear to be a charlatan or a con man that he was trying deliberately to mislead people. He seemed to have been completely genuine in his belief. And when the next final 24 hours came, he was a complete wreck. And when October 22nd, 1844 came and passed, Captain Miller was devastated. The Millerites, as they came to be known, were scattered. The movement that had built up to such a frenzy died overnight, except for a handful. And these handful decided that what was wrong was that the church was misreading Scripture, and if the church would change to worship on the true Sabbath, then perhaps Christ would come. And what came out of that were the Seventh-day Adventists. And now you know the rest of the story. Only God knows the future. God reveals certain aspects, but he does not reveal certain aspects. This we do know for certain. The world will be unprepared for Yahweh.